All right. So, welcome to another episode. And today we're going to talk about what it means to fight fair
In marriage.
in marriage. Yes.
Yes.
So, this is kind of a weird one because every marriage fights. Now, I think fighting can look a little different because, for instance, in our marriage, we don't necessarily have shouting matches. I've gotten intense sometimes. I can't think of a time where you ever got intense. But
I tend to get intense with very low tones.
yeah,
Low, quiet tones.
yeah, yeah. In fact, yeah, I don't. There, every marriage is a little different. Then you'll hear of marriages where they're just going at it. So
Chip Ingram calls them knockdown, drag out
yeah,
fights.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So when you are fighting, and every couple's a little bit different.
And maybe it's just conflict.
Yeah,
There's always conflict.
I could also say too, how to fight fair in marriage can also be. You might not be fighting, and in the sense of that intense knockdown drag out fight, but you're actually fighting and you don't realize it.
Like
That's,
passive
I
aggressively
guess,
fighting.
yeah, I guess it could be, but it's not even silent treatment. It's just that you're in coast mode.
Mm.
But you're in coast mode because you haven't addressed something that needs to be addressed in your marriage.
Yeah.
And I wonder why that happens. Why do you think that happens?
Probably a fear of conflict.
Yeah.
Not wanting to address it. Just wanting to continue.
I mean, our marriage is an example of that. I remember the first 5 years into marriage, going to marriage conferences and being like, man, they talk about how to fight and all that kind of stuff. And we just don't fight. And then I realized that's actually not a good thing. You
It's
can't
good.
have success in a relationship if you don't have any conflict.
Yeah.
So,
You can't create intimacy or closeness without conflict.
yeah, so you go into coast mode and then you drift apart and you haven't addressed because you haven't addressed the things that are causing that to happen.
Yeah.
And that can be just as disastrous to a marriage as conflict that seems to be happening all the time. In fact, or not fighting fair, I guess you could say. But what would you rather have? A marriage where there's no conflict seemingly, or a marriage that has seemingly too much conflict? Maybe there's not fighting fair happening sometimes. Those both have to be addressed, but they're both toxic. And it seems to me that the more dangerous silent killer is if you're not having conflict because it's not out.
Yeah. You don't really know what it is or
Yeah.
what's under the surface. It could just be festering like rot and you can't identify it where it is or anything.
Yeah. So you think everything's okay,
Yeah.
but it's really not.
Yeah.
I think in that picture, maybe I'm off on this, but is it more often that a guy might feel like, hey, everything's great, we're not having conflict? Okay.
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of times guys will be like, yeah, our marriage is great. We're at like an 8 right now or whatever. And the wife's like 3. We're at a 3.
Yeah.
He's like, what? Because it's something that she's harboring and not communicating through or something. And guys are very straightforward. And so they assume what you see is what you get, which is, I guess, how it should be.
So maybe everybody out there, if you fight different, you probably fight differently. We're just kind of explaining how we fight. Actually, we need to give an example. That we don't really give an example. Maybe a fight looks like, most often I'm intense about something and
I disagree with you on it,
yeah,
but let's see. I think Our longest standing fight has been Saturdays, how Saturdays are supposed to look.
Yeah.
And I think we're actually past it now. We're doing really good.
That's actually a really good example of our passive fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Because, let's talk about that.
Okay,
what was your expectation for Saturdays?
My expectation for Saturdays was that that's the day when Dad's home, Dad doesn't have to work, nobody has school, and so we go out and do things or spend time as a family and enjoy the day. It's the adventure day, And Keith grew up where that's the deep clean the house day.
Chores.
So you can see why there might be conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So, and no way was wrong, but just having that expectation, and not just having that expectation, like we communicated our expectations to each other, but still just holding the line on what our expectation was going to be, I think was part of the problem. We would just still want to have our idea of Saturday was the best way.
Yeah.
And rather than finding a compromise or a solution, we would just hold to our own belief of what Saturday was supposed to look like and get mad at each other about it. And so then Keith would be like trying to rage clean the house. And
True.
And I would be mad that we weren't going places and doing adventures. And so I'd be passive aggressively like not cleaning or I don't even know, just not addressing what the problem was.
I think too, we're probably nice people.
We are. Yeah.
And so when you're nice,
we're both unconvinced.
Yeah.
We don't like confrontation as much.
Well, nobody likes conflict.
Yeah.
I like conflict more than you, but nobody likes conflict. But, and by the way, that's even somebody who seemingly likes conflict. They actually don't like it. But what they hate worse is not lack of movement, lack of development. And so that's why it seems like they like conflict, because they're willing to have it. So I think for me, that's probably where I come from more. But even then, we're both pretty just nice people who don't typically go out and have conflict. So that puts us in coast mode.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be honest, we do agree on a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
We've had that benefit.
That's true.
Of
that is
there is a lot of alignment.
Yeah.
We kind of lucked out on that. So that helps.
That is very true. I mean, it's like practically grew up in the same family type environment. So,
yeah. And we both kind of go with the flow.
All the way down to like how we made pancakes practically. And
yeah, just about.
Yeah. It's just, our father's similar, mom's similar. Like you had 7 or 6 siblings. I had 5.
Yeah.
Big family, homeschool, all that. So that's true. It's a lot of alignment there, and your thoughts on morals and your feelings on morals, all that. So that's true.
But when it comes to conflict, I think what really helped too was going through Chip Ingram's study. I can't remember which one it was, but one of his marriage studies, one of the sections was fighting fair, how to fight fair. And it's good to put up a framework ahead of time, not a framework, but like rules of what you will and won't do when you're fighting, how to fight fair so that you can have healthy conflict, voice your opinion, and nobody gets hurt. Chip Ingram gives the example of a couple of kids putting on these oversized boxing gloves that are way too heavy for them. And so that they're like swinging as hard as they can, trying to hit each other, but nobody's actually getting hurt because they're way too heavy and they're big and soft and all this. So just kind of having parameters like that in marriage so that you don't hurt each other. You can work through conflict, but you're not hurting each other.
So are you saying we can put on gloves and fight?
Duke it out.
Yeah, duke it.
Yeah.
Well, I know he went into a lot more detail on that, but and that idea of it's the illustration was these 2 boys who were fighting, but they could the gloves were so heavy they could barely even throw punches at each other. It was a way for them to resolve conflict without really hurting each other. So when it comes to fighting fair, every couple does fight at one time or another. Healthy marriages aren't the ones that avoid conflict. So we went over kind of some of that. But how do you fight without destroying trust and respect? And I think that's the big thing, because in that illustration where those two boys are fighting, how often is it they would get that anger and frustration out in a fair way, and then they'd be the best of buds afterwards.
Yeah.
Because there was a fair setup for that. So it repaired trust, and it repaired, well, it didn't, I guess you could say it didn't break trust and respect.
Right.
So, it's a skill that you have to develop. It doesn't just happen. And I think I walked into marriage thinking, oh, I don't fight much, so I must be really like great. And I didn't realize that I actually just didn't know how to fight well.
Yeah.
And deal with conflict well.
Right.
Yeah. So going back to maybe when we first got married, what were some of those things that we had to address?
I can't even
and
remember.
how we talked with each other.
Do you remember any?
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't use generalizations.
Oh, yeah. Don't use generalizations. Yep. That's right.
I'd come home and I just remember, I don't know, maybe I was working.
You were working long hours.
I was getting up at 4 something, getting home at 6. And you were just sitting at home all day doing puzzles, making dinners.
Yeah.
And you couldn't wait to go to Disneyland, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I worked on the weekends and he worked during the week. And so the only time we got together was weeknights.
Yeah.
When he got home after he'd woken up at 4 a.m. And so I was like, yay, now we get to go out and do stuff. I've been waiting for you to come home all day. I'm excited to hang out with my best buddy.
Yeah.
And he'd come home completely exhausted. And then that would lead to disappointment, of course. He was way too tired or would have a headache or whatever. And I would start saying things like, you always do this. We never, always and never. And generalizations like that. And I think we went through a book, or you pointed out, I don't know.
I had been through some books and learned about generalizations. And so I remember just talking with you. It wasn't, I wasn't intense or anything like that. It was just, I realized that a pretty basic communicational skill that you have to learn is it's not fair to talk in generalizations.
Yeah.
It's never okay to talk in generalizations.
Yeah.
So that was something that struck me when I'd probably read that in a book a few years earlier and I've been trying to work on that. But
so not using generalizations.
Yeah. How
always and never.
I think because emotionally we use generalizations because that's what feels right.
Mm-hmm.
In the moment, it feels like this is always the case. But basically the point is that's not true.
Right.
And now you're not fighting fair because that's actually not true.
It's not. Yeah. And I know it's not true myself when I say that. It's an exaggeration. And I know it's an exaggeration, but that's how I feel. It feels like the reality is this exaggeration. I know it's not literally every single day that this scenario happens, or always or never or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the way it feels to me. Like generally, always, always means generally, but it's important to make those distinctions and to be honest about those things and use clear, truthful language and not make generalizations, because then you're accusing your partner of something they're not doing. That's not true. And when you fight, it's good to start in reality.
Boy, it's interesting because that conflict we were talking about, that's a good one, because I think one of the conflicts that I brought up that I remember early on, your family would go on vacations.
Yeah.
That actually was a difference between us.
Yeah.
Your family went on vacations and mine didn't. We went on like a once a year trip to Eastern Washington to go visit my grandpa at his 10-acre apple orchard. And
Yeah.
that was considered our family vacation. You guys were a little bit more than that.
Yeah. We drive our motorhome across the country or something.
Yeah. And you guys had a motorhome, which
Yeah.
to me, I thought was just, wow. I mean, that is wasting all of your money on a motorhome. Yeah. That was just kind of how I grew up, I suppose. But
Not if you get one that has mushrooms growing in the back.
yeah, that's
Not a
true. You
huge
guys
waste
had
of
a
money.
old 1970s shag carpet,
Yeah.
orange. Yeah.
So not lying, not lying. That's not what I said. Not name calling,
Mm-hmm.
and not no generalizations.
Yeah.
Those are
Oh, name calling.
two.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Now, we've not ever struggled with name calling.
No. Well, you determined that right off the bat.
Yeah.
We're not going to call names.
No.
That helped.
But that was a decision that I knew. I grew up with my mom telling me not to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
And my parents too. They learned real quick. We're not going to have a marriage that has name calling in it.
Yeah.
We're not going to call each other names.
It's it's definitely not fighting fair.
No.
Because it's not true, right?
Yeah. And you're characterizing someone, their character, by a name.
Yeah.
You're identifying who they are by calling them a name.
Yeah. It's a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, saying you are this, and it's a derogatory thing.
Yeah.
And so then you're branding them by that versus a mentality of growth. They can change. And I mean, the simple of that is it's not, you're not believing that the grace of God can work in that person's life. If you believe that that's them and you brand them that way.
Yeah.
So that's important. It's important to be careful with words.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
yeah. And that's just an example of lashing out in anger in a way that hurts somebody. It's not truthful. It's not helpful. It doesn't help the argument or anything. It's just hurting the other person. And it's not helping you reach a common goal.
Yeah. Yeah. No name calling.
Another one I would say is...
Did you have any good Christian name calling stuff you did when you were kids to each other?
I don't think so. I mean, we weren't allowed to say some things, like we weren't allowed to say butt and stuff like that. And so that's like the worst thing we could think of, to call somebody a butthead. That's about it.
Oh, we weren't allowed to say that either. Yeah.
No. Yeah. We got in trouble.
When we were kids, there were so many words we couldn't say. So it's kind of, weird Christian culture thing. But the worst name we could call each other was cuckoo bird. What? What is that?
That's so funny.
We don't do, of course, do that.
Cotton-headed and ninny muggins.
Yeah, basically. And we just the funny thing of that, maybe I could say this, is calling people names. It is funny, but even if you say cuckoo bird, it's the intent behind it. Might as well have been saying a bad swear word, because the intent behind it was hatred.
Yeah.
So it's important to look at how we communicate to others. And I'm not saying go use a swear word or something if you're going to call somebody something, but I am saying it's clear that Jesus said it's about the intent of our heart.
Yeah.
Not if we say a word but have that intent of hatred, then he says in Matthew that it's like we're killing him. And so it's important that we're careful with that. So calling names out. Calling names out. We've got calling names and overgeneralization.
Yeah, no generalization.
No generalization. One that probably both of our parents taught us was, and this is just so basic in marriage, if you go through any marriage counseling or anything, you're probably going to be told don't ever use the D word.
Divorce.
Yes, divorce. That's right.
That's right. It doesn't belong in your vocabulary.
That may have been a name call, but no, it's divorce.
No, divorce. Yeah. There's no out.
There's no out. That is a hard one. That's really hard. Now, we for us, we didn't have a lot of really heavy conflict, but I've talked with couples where they're having really heavy conflict and you feel, I mean, in any difficult situation, you're going to feel like getting out because fight or flight takes over.
Yeah. Well, and if you feel like there's a back door,
Right.
you're going to always want to take it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole concept. If you remove that word from your vocabulary and that thought from your mind, then you're looking for solutions. Because if there's no way out, suddenly you're in problem solving mindset and you have to actually try and solve the problem. And you can't just take an easy out or be leaning on that as your option when things get really tough.
If it's good to make a commitment to that, but maybe going deeper on that, if we are feeling like that is a word that we want to use, what's the deeper issue going on? What's going on in the marriage? And it to me, it sounds like it's a stop sign that you need to deal with something in yourself, not necessarily the other person, but you need to deal with something in yourself.
Yeah. And hopefully you're recognizing those red flags before you get to that point.
Yeah.
Because you got to address those things.
Yeah. What other things?
I think another important one is remembering that your spouse is not the enemy and that you're not fighting your spouse. The enemy is Satan and he's out for your marriage. And just remembering that your spouse is not the enemy. So when you're fighting with your spouse, they don't wake up in the morning think, oh, how can I make my wife's life miserable?
Sabotage their life.
Yeah. Generally. No.
Well,
your spouse doesn't wake up with ill will toward you generally. Certainly not from the get-go. So
even if that is the case, you can, where there's a moment where that might be the feeling.
Yeah.
That in the bigger picture of things, that's not the case.
They're not against you.
Yeah.
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 And so remembering to fight the problem and not the person. Maybe that's a more concise way of saying it. Your spouse is not the enemy. Fight the problem, not the person.
Yes, when we're doing that, we're actually taking responsibility for it instead of blaming somebody else, which blame is the first step we take towards when we're not dealing with a problem correctly.
Yeah.
That's a immature reaction instead of asking where am I, what's my responsibility in this?
It's a really easy response to have too. It's the first easy button to just blame the person next to you. And oftentimes when our spouse is lashing out at us, it's not necessarily us that's the problem. We're just the closest person. And so they lash out at us because we're nearby. Or we lash out at our spouse because they're the closest person. So oftentimes when there's life stress or things that we're dealing with, who do we lash out at? It's the person that we're closest with and love the most. And unfortunately, we know them well enough to know how to hurt them the most.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that happens.
Yeah, truth. Okay, so let's combine a phrase. We'll show a positive and a negative.
Okay.
A phrase that attacks and generalizes. You never listen to me.
Yeah.
So instead, how would we do that correctly? By being more...
The next one of how to fight fair is using I feel statements. And that's how you deal with that.
Okay.
Instead of saying you never listen to me or something, you say when, or use when then statements. When then and I feel statements are the answer to that. So when you do whatever, I feel like you don't listen to me.
Yeah.
Or
So it's specific?
it's specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Specific.
When you open the door to generalizations, like you never listen to me, that takes, let's drag in everything from the past.
Yeah.
And the potential in the future.
Yeah. And I would say that's another rule even, is deal with one issue at a time.
It is. Stay on one topic. One topic at a time, one thing at a time. I was listening to a podcast yesterday or 2 days ago, but he was talking about how it's really not good for us to overthink problems. And when we're fighting, we're in this rumination. Well, we've probably done rumination, but we're thinking, but we don't realize we've actually potentially overthought the problem. So what he said was, it's this really popular psychiatrist. He said, Dr. K, he said that what they find in people who are overthinking is that they take a problem that at surface level, on average, would not be a big deal. But as you ruminate and think about it, you start thinking in more black and white. And then as you think more in black and white, it becomes worse and worse, or infatuation as well can also turn into that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not seeing the picture clearly when that happens. And I thought that was really insightful, because if you don't overthink in general. I wouldn't say you overthink stuff.
Me as a person?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I think I'm the overthinker for sure. But I really appreciate that, because that makes you you don't overthink problems, or in general. You just don't bring past stuff into it. Where I want to make all these connections. Like, oh, you did this, you did that. It's like I'm a private detective. And to that rule of, well, they have your best in mind, so don't think it's like you end up throwing all that out the window, because you somehow justify, by the time you get to the end of overthinking, they're basically Hitler. and that's why, like, you hear that word thrown out so much. Oh, they're a Nazi, they're Hitler. That's basically the product of overthinking. You got way too black and white.
Yeah.
You're ever thinking you've turned that person to a monster, they really are not. So you got to stay on topic, deal with one thing at a time.
One specific issue, and just deal with it right away. If something's bothering you, real life example. So we have this. You're gonna laugh. We have our coffee station, and we have a spoon that we use to stir the coffee every morning, and like a little spoon wrench for it. And I know that when Keith wakes up in the morning, he's like thinking about his day and like already 100 miles an hour and 10 steps ahead from what he's doing. And so he's making his coffee, and he always puts the spoon on the counter and not on the spoon rest, which is like one of those things that is like so minor, but could turn into something big. Yeah. And so it was bothering me. And I finally brought it up to him and told him, hey, do you think you could put your spoon on the spoon rest, please? Because it just makes mess all over the counter. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he did a great job with that for a few weeks. And then started putting the spoon on the counter again. And I was like irritated about it. I was like, oh. Probably didn't have enough sleep, all those things. But then I was like, this is one of those things that couples get into huge fights over, and no one ever remembers what the fight was about, because it was something really, really dumb like this. Yeah. And that's one of those things that you just don't address, or you let fester, and pretty soon you're calling all the names, or you're thinking like everything builds up and out of proportion, and everything's connected, and you're married to Hitler by the end, and you've overthought everything, and it was just a spoon, it's really not a big deal. And so just the importance of addressing things right away when they're little because they just grow and turn into big fat dragons. So just address it right away.
Well, thanks for using this moment to have a live intervention with me on the spoon and the coffee. I'll make sure and get back to that.
It's okay, honey. I've let it go.
Oh.
In theory, yeah. In theory, I've let it go.
I'm going to work on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. There was one thing you mentioned, though, in there, getting sleep. That is huge.
I'm convinced it's like the solution for all problems. Like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness, in marriage, in family, in personal relationships, in parenting, so many problems come from just not getting enough sleep or not getting good sleep. And obviously there's some times of life where you just can't, like when you have a new baby and stuff, or when you're jet lagged or something.
Ooh.
But but how oftentimes the world seems totally, I mean, you'll just see red and the world is just out of control and spinning and everyone's out to get you and everything is a disaster. Everyone around you is incompetent. Just the whole world is falling apart and really you just need a nap. Just need a nap and you'll feel way better.
You mentioned babies born.
Yeah.
First 9 months.
Yeah, at least.
I mean, nobody tells you about how difficult that is.
Yeah.
You get married. Oh, you're going to have kids. How nice. And then, it's just like, it reminds me of the old John Wayne movie, Hondo, where he just throws the kid in the water to learn how to swim.
Yeah. That's how parenting.
That's how.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, oh.
And you don't really know the level of psychosis you can get to with lack of sleep until you're there, especially as new parents when you've got a new baby.
Yeah.
This is like a whole nother episode or something, but
we got to stay on one topic.
Yeah, I know. Stay on topic. But it's, people get to the end of their rope real quick and you can go absolutely crazy without sleep. So that's not abnormal.
And that's
very normal.
There's so many different scenarios. Like, I mean, one of my brothers, he had a special needs kid and him and his wife had to keep basically up 24/7 surveillance on him to make sure his feeding tube was in there. They did that, I want to say, for 3 years.
Something like that. It was ridiculous.
It is a miracle of God that their relationship has healed through that situation. But there are times you go through that, one, having a kid, it's difficult. You got to pay the bills somehow, financials, all this stuff. You're stretched.
Yeah.
You're stretched you're going to be stretched beyond what you can take.
Yeah.
And you gotta realize when you're feeling that way that it probably isn't the situation. This is probably lack of sleep.
Yes.
And
lots of pressure.
This
is tons of pressure.
So, I mean, I want to stay on one topic, but in that situation, I would just say you got to get sleep, but you got to get sleep also by crying out for help.
Yeah.
Like it is, please just ask for help. Siblings, church, community, everybody gets
your
it.
Parents,
everybody
your
gets
in-laws.
it. Everybody's gone through this and they're going to get it. You got to ask for help. If you feel like, why do I feel like I'm drowning? It's because you are. It's time to ask for your life preserver. You got to ask for help.
People don't know where you're at unless you tell them.
Yeah, you got to tell them.
And don't feel like you have to have someone who's like your best friend to help you. You can just ask someone from church.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Ask someone to come watch the kids for a little while so you can take a nap or take them to the park for a couple hours so you can take a nap, because that is the most important thing, is being able to get to sleep. The laundry can wait. It's not that important, but being able to, everything else falls together when you have a working brain. Nothing works when you don't have a working brain.
It's good.
So, and remember, your spouse is not the enemy in that scenario.
So
easy to attack your spouse.
Yes, you can. Oh, yeah.
You both are under a ton of stress.
And that happens both ways, because you have, if mom's home taking care of the baby, of course, and if dad's working, dad feels like, well, you don't understand my work. She feels like you don't understand where I'm at. And it's true.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
We don't understand each other's
Yeah.
worlds. That, and then you're tired.
And the relationship has changed now too.
Yeah.
Because there's a baby.
There's a baby.
And
Yeah.
you're not prepared for that either.
No. So you have to give lots of grace and come in with a strategy that when you do feel like you're at the end of the rope, you got to ask for help. You got accountability, community help.
Yep.
And
yep. And if I could interject really quick too, sometimes help comes from places you don't expect. Like I've had total strangers help me in a time of need when no one else was around or no one else was able to help. And it was like God used those people to just intervene at that moment. And I was like, God provides for my needs wherever I'm at, even from total strangers. Like there was a time I was at the grocery store. It was Karis or Sophia or something was a baby, and she was screaming her head off. And I was completely overwhelmed and just like had this plastic smile on my face and was like loading up my groceries and stuff and just like, she'll stop eventually, maybe when I'm dead, you know, and she's just like losing it. And I was like embarrassed. We're at the grocery store and this older lady comes over to my check stand and she goes, "Can I hold your baby for you? I'd love to just hold her for you so you can load up your groceries." I was like, stranger danger at first. And then I was like, you know what? Who cares? I'm exhausted. No. So I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And she was like some lady in her 50s or 60s or 60s probably. And she was like, "I'm a grandma." And then she held her and just like talked to her with big eyes the whole time. I was like telling her all these stories. It was adorable. And Sophia was like completely mesmerized with this lady the whole time.
Oh, wow.
And so just don't be afraid to accept help, even from places you don't expect.
That's good. So when we are arguing, I haven't had to use this one that much but I think maybe once or twice, but just the idea of usually it's you're too tired. So my dad, his voice comes out here. Never have an argument past 9:00. So timeouts are not avoidance. So it's okay to have a timeout. If it's past 9 and you're like, let's go at this. Well, being tired is a real thing.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to go overthink it and your brain's not ready to deal with it. And how many times have you slept on something, taken a timeout, woke up the next day and been like, oh my goodness, I was crazy. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and at night too, when you're tired, your barriers go down that you normally would filter everything through. And when all that's gone, sure you say what you actually are thinking,
yeah.
but that's not always a good thing. You have to have those filters.
Yeah.
And that kind of flies in the face of the common phrase, "Don't go to bed angry." Like, don't let the sun go down on your anger. And while that's true, sometimes it's better to sleep on it and then come back. Just take a time out from the problem. Don't stay up till all hours of the morning because you're still angry and try and hash it all out. It's better to just revisit the topic the next day or another time when it's better.
So I hear this a lot where you could be doing the right, you're fighting, you're using some of these rules, but you're using kind of these subvertive actions in your communication, you're in words you're saying, and they're not swear words. They're things like sarcasm or bringing up old wounds or the silent treatment. We talked about threatening divorce. Well, threatening threatening that you're going to not be committed to the relationship in some way for a time period. And there's sometimes practically sometimes couples do need to take a little bit of a break, but that, I believe, needs to have a counselor involved.
Yeah, for
I really
beneficial separation.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
And then comparisons, that's another one. Man, don't ever compare your wife to that's just dumb.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
yeah,
Don't ever do that. That is, and the same with the wife to the husband.
yeah,
So, and then those are kind of subvertive communication tactics that you can do that you don't realize are actually breaking down the relationship. They're not so obvious. They're just
right,
subvertive, and they're sort of accepted because it's kind of like, well, it's not blatant. It's just subvertive.
right.
So,
I would also say, um, never use sex as a weapon or withhold sex as a
mhm,
weapon.
yeah.
It's it's like withholding oxygen or
Oh,
something. Just
yeah.
it's not ever supposed to be weaponized. Don't ever do that. I'll use it as punishment or something.
That's a great example because, yeah, go into that a little more. What's going on?
I think it's like silent treatment
Hmm.
where, I mean, it's one thing to just not feel connected and so you're not having sex or something, but if you're intentionally like cutting your husband off, saying, "We are not having sex until you solve this problem or you fix this thing about yourself," or whatever, it it's too much of a part of the heart of marriage. That's like cutting your off your arm.
Mm.
Just you can't do that. I don't think women necessarily uh, understand the depth of that, how much it's like oxygen. But it is, and um, it's a great temperature gauge too of where your marriage is at and everything. So it's just one of those things that don't ever weaponize sex.
I think for a man, if he's in fear and anxiety, and that that ministry helps in such a big way to help put him in a mindset of peace and to sleep
Yeah, yeah,
and to come to his right mind.
yeah,
And if you withhold that, it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot
yeah.
because you want him to come to his senses,
Right,
and he's stuck in fear and anxiety,
right,
and
right.
he's all wound up. So,
Yeah, and it's deeper than that too. It's not like you're just withholding something that he likes. You're rejecting him as a person.
yes.
You're telling him through those actions that I'm rejecting you. You are not welcome here, and I will not accept you until you change or something like that. And that's just yeah, you can't do that.
And that's a tough one too, because we would never condone abuse in any way.
No,
In any way. If that's happening,
no.
it's something totally different. But I would say y- you could overthink something and turn your husband into a Hitler,
Yeah,
and then feel that way. I- But on the flip side, um, there could be, like, you guys need a counselor and you're not going to a counselor, and you need to do that.
yeah.
So, um, I think that's part of the reason why it's important to be in the Word of God,
Mhm.
because the Word of God helps align your mind towards what is true, honorable, just, right, loving, Philippians 4. And if we're not, then we can define what is right by how we feel or how we're being manipulated.
Yeah,
And we need to be able to recognize what is true, what is loving, what is good. And we can only do that by allowing our minds to be saturated by the word of truth. So,
yeah,
um, and-
yeah. And in the same way, like
mm,
um, communication, we don't cut off communication either.
yes, yeah.
I think those two are very closely connected.
If anything is, again, coming back to the timeout thing, it's an agreed upon thing.
Yeah,
We're going to agree about this. But I would say too, there is a personality that is going to want to resolve a problem right away. They're going to be a dominant personality.
Yeah.
And a more passive personality is going to need to think about it more, process it more,
Yeah.
because they want to be sure that they have the right answer. A dominant person kind of just sees what's in front of them
Yeah.
and thinks they know the right answer, but they haven't really thought about the bigger picture much. So you have to realize there's probably marriages out there, of course, that are going to be opposites and the same, and one's going to want to think about it longer, which might come across as silent treatment to somebody who's dominant. But
Yeah.
this is also knowing the other person. They're not trying to give you silent treatment. They might just really need some space. And that's part of the communication, right? It's,
Yeah.
hey, I want to process this. And when I give you an answer, I want it to be the answer and process this. So um, they need to think about it a little more.
Mm. Let me ask you a question. Something I think that's common with men is when they get into conflict, they're I mean, men tend to be so aggressive that if you square off with a man, he's either going to fight or he's going to run away. And how important it is to not
Hmm.
like back anybody into a corner, of course. But um, my question is, I think it's common for men to run away from problems. What's the difference between running away from a conflict, yelling, slamming the door, running off, and taking a timeout or a break from the conflict to regroup? What's the difference between those two?
Yeah, I think the illustration to me I've thought about this is when two bears fight, they try not to. So, like, they try to avoid the fight
Yeah.
because they know someone's going to get really hurt.
Yeah.
And that's usually the same with guys.
Yeah.
They come at it a little bit different. So I can see what you're saying on that.
Yeah. I've seen that scenario before where there's a really aggressive woman, whether it's a spouse or a mom or whatever, but in conflict with a man and kind of backing him into a corner, like demanding, we need answers right now. We're going to solve this problem right now. You're not going anywhere. And he is going to either run or fight.
Yeah,
And there's only two options.
there's a huge, huge difference between testosterone and estrogen.
Yeah.
I'm going to die sooner because it's like everything about testosterone puts you in a more intense state.
Yeah.
I'm going to have bigger muscles, bigger. My body's going to break down faster. I'm going to have heart disease more likely.
It's like an engine that's running at higher RPMs at all times.
Exactly. Yeah. So that with guys, especially with women, I mean, you can't get into a physical altercation at all.
No, never, not once.
So
how does a man deal with that situation when he feels that fight or flight and he feels the need to have a break? He can either take a break or run away. Like, what's the difference between taking a break and
this
running
is
away?
setting the ground rules beforehand.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife isn't intense, but if I did have an intense wife like that, setting the ground rules and saying, hey, I need to be able, as a respect boundary, I need to be able to raise my hand or say a word, and we have a timeout so we can think about this. And I might even need to sleep on it.
Yeah.
And then we come back to this later. But that to try to, if you're really intense and dominant and you come across like this needs to resolve right now, it could be because you're just a dominant personality and you can only see what's in front of your nose and that's it. You got to be able to see the bigger picture and step back. And that can typically only happen if you take a little time out and get some height.
Yeah.
And be able to see a bigger picture there. And recognize too that you have to step back with humility in that. And in the moment, oh, maybe I don't have all the right answers. Maybe I'm not seeing this right. So
would you say that in that moment, when a husband is feeling backed into a corner,
Yeah.
it's a good time to just talk about it, to vocalize and be like, I need a break right now. I need to walk away from this. I'm not leaving. I'm coming back. We can deal with this when I calm down, but I need to go for a walk.
Well, it's not just calming down from
Think about it.
the man's
Yeah.
standpoint, obviously this could go both ways, but
Right.
but I would say too, the person who can only see as far as their nose, probably they need to calm down too. Because the goal is, the only goal in that moment is, this is the classic, you don't realize you're fighting about just being right.
Right.
You just want to be right. And this is, we call that being in the box. This book right back here, right there, Leadership and Self-Deception, How to Keep Yourself Out of the Box. You don't realize that most fights are about just you being right. And actually you're not interested in the other person and getting to a goal that works for both. You just want to be right.
Right.
So you're going to need to back off of that if somebody's not going to back off. Someone has to do, and that's actually, I believe in the love and respect, one of the rules. Someone has to take the higher ground.
Yeah. Someone has to make the adult
Yeah.
choice.
Someone has to make the adult choice.
Yeah.
Someone has to take the higher ground if you're both in the box.
Maybe it's you that's feeling out of control and you recognize that and have to verbalize that you need to take a break, go for a walk, cool down, come back to it later. Or maybe it's your spouse that is too intense. And rather than telling them to calm down,
Ooh, not good. Don't do that.
But to say, I think it's time, and even blaming yourself and saying, I think I need a break, even if they're the one that needs the break.
Yeah.
But I think we need to take a break. Think about this, give it some time, go for a walk, something like that, and come back to it.
Yeah. And as you learn maybe better skills, because it is conflict resolution's skill, you learn to set better ground rules. And that's why I love that book back there, because it just is so eye-opening for how to have ground rules for arguments and what's actually happening. Why is there toxicity that we can't get rid of? And it's this unseen thing in all of us, that whenever we have an argument, there's a magnet from both of us pulling us into what it mentions as the box. The box is where you're fighting to just be right, and it has nothing to do with anything outside the box, the bigger picture. So it's important to be able to recognize when you're starting to feel that magnet, and when words are starting to be said that prove we're in the box right now. And then it's like, okay, we need some room here to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're feeling that pent up aggression, going for a run or exercising really hard is a great way to help get that out. A good workout.
Yeah. So maybe on that, there's this, we want to be understood. That's another thing. So it's not necessarily just being right, but it's, I want to be understood.
Yes.
And so this feels exact opposite, but instead of not being willing to have a fair argument until you're understood, be that adult, I guess you could say, that someone has to be at the higher level and actually seek to understand them. Even though you feel the opposite of that, ask questions. Ask questions. How does this make you feel? Just ask questions. And when answers come back that are going to make you feel, oh, that makes me so angry, and your mind starts to spin, you got to know, I'm seeking understanding right now. This isn't me gathering more information to attack. This is me just gathering more information.
As Proverbs says, a soft answer turns away wrath.
Yeah.
If you can ask questions and control your tone of voice, then that helps lower the temperature.
Yeah. I believe Chip talks about this, but one person talking for a certain set of time, and then the other person, I can't remember if that was him.
Yeah, he talked about that for a different scenario.
Okay. Yeah. But it's like, give each other, like, now it's your turn to ask questions and gather information. Okay, now it's my turn, and then you're both heard, and there's not a let me ask you a question. Okay, great. Now I have ammunition to attack you.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Or it's not a shouting match. You give each other time to answer, and you actually close your mouth and listen.
Yes. I've never been guilty of that. I don't interrupt people or talk over them.
Shipping room says it's the duct tape method, where you just ask a question and put duct tape over your mouth.
That's right.
Just sit with the duct tape.
Put the duct tape on. I love that.
Yeah.
We're on the same team. So that's the kind of idea of, I remember in Love and Respect, Emerson, was that his name? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
He says, when you're in an argument with somebody, picture Jesus is behind them.
Yes.
We're all on the same team.
Yeah.
And that can help.
Yeah. And I think the idea of picturing Jesus standing behind your spouse is that you're not treating your spouse the way they deserve. You're treating them the way Jesus commanded you to treat them. Because Jesus is the one that you're honoring. Even if your spouse is not worthy of honor at this moment, you're honoring Christ in the way that you treat your spouse. Because your spouse is one of his children, and you are entrusted to take care of his child as your husband or wife. And that's a heavy task. And that's when I think he's the one that talks about being an agent of grace to your spouse.
Yeah.
And that is the concept where God has entrusted you with his precious child that he has known since before infancy, knows every single facet about. And he's entrusted his child into your care to be your spouse. And he expects you to treat them the way he would want you to treat his child. So just keeping that in mind, remembering that I get to be an agent of grace, showing the love of Christ and his grace to my spouse, whether they deserve it or not, and whether they're being lovable or unlovable. And that's how marriage is Christ honoring. And that's not easy.
It's not.
When at Mom's group recently, Brenda Peterson was speaking, and what did she say? She said, am I treating my husband the way something like this, the way I vowed to treat him, or am I treating him the way I think he deserves? Is my level of treatment to him just the level of what I think he deserves? Or am I keeping my vows to him?
Oh, it goes both ways.
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Kind of to go back to the beginning, it's that idea when you feel like you're going crazy, you're at the end of your rope, remember why you started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Same team. Is there any other things that you can think of? I mean, we've kind of covered quite a few stuff here, but
yeah, we've covered a lot.
Yeah. Is there anything else that has been helpful and as we've tried to address conflict and deal with issues?
Nothing's coming to mind off the top.
Maybe we could just say, wish the Chip Ingram app.
Yeah.
As far as a resource, we use that extensively.
We went through a ton of his marriage stuff.
So good.
Actually,
and we told so many people about that. And all of those series and sermons are in there, and they're just brilliant.
Never stop studying for your marriage, because it's something that we don't really train much on. I mean, we might get a couple weeks of marriage counseling before we get married and expect that we're just good to go.
The most important decision of your life, you get a few weeks training for.
Yeah. Yeah. Here you go. Throw you in the water, John Wayne. But so never stop learning and studying for your marriage. Start as early as possible, and you will avoid a lot of heartache if you can start early, because you'll learn what pitfalls to avoid right off the bat. Marriage retreat is not for people who have marriages falling apart, although it's for everyone, but it's for everyone. It's marriage retreat. It's for marriage.
It's like going to the gym.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, not everybody has a six-pack in the gym.
Yeah, yeah.
We're there to get better and learn. And maybe I'll say this too, because I love being on the soapbox. Your personal development in marriage absolutely translates to professional. So if you're developing yourself in your marriage and studying your marriage, guess what? You're going to be better professionally. Your soft skills will improve. Your leadership capabilities will improve. I was just reading a book and it was about effective executives. And it was saying that basically the best executives and leaders are the best parents, vice versa. So
Interesting.
you, as you develop one, you're actually working on the other. It's an important thing. Just a little soapbox moment there for that. But well, we're just we haven't learned everything. Those are just some.
Sorry.
It's all right. We're just two people been through some of the School of Hard Knocks, and we've been given resources by other people that we've talked about here with the Love and Respect series by, I believe, Emerson, and then the Chip Ingram series. Those are great places to start. I would just say the Chip Ingram, he has so many it's really comprehensive marriage.
Yes. The Art of Marriage is really
The Art of
good
Marriage.
too.
Yeah. He's got everything. I've read a lot of books on relationships. He's just so comprehensive in everything that he covers there. So I just highly suggest that. And then the Love and Respect is a great video series you can go through. It's a nice kind of couples Bible study. We did that, and it was really nice. And the reality is, it doesn't matter what you go through. Just like you said, you have to keep on studying because you forget. We're forgetful creatures. If we don't keep on practicing, then we optimize to the least amount of effort needed for the task, and that's in everything. I mean, this is top of mind for me right now because I've been thinking so much about this because it's true. Everybody's optimizing themselves to the least amount of energy output. Even as we sit here, our bodies are doing that without us thinking. So in anything that you do in your marriage, in your work and everything, you have to be a student.
And marriage changes too.
Marriage
so
changes,
what applied before might not apply now or vice versa.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys learned some good things from this, some good tips. If you have any tips that you want to share as well, please send our way. And if you have a great fight that you had that you'd like to share with us and how you guys worked through that together, that would just be, that'd be great to hear too. I mean,
like an aha moment you had in the middle of a fight or something.
Exactly. I mean, our marriage is different. There's a lot of different marriages out there. It's neat to see how people have come at this differently and resolved it. So would love to hear about that. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.